What's up, guys? I am back today to talk to you about rubber bands. Yes, it's exciting. Yes, it's cool. It is rubber bands. Okay, it's not that exciting. Little disclaimer. I know some people, for some reason, want to keep coming at me like, "Hey, I don't use rubber bands. You're doing it wrong." But look, this is not for everyone. This is the way I do my dreads. This is how I've got my dreads to look like this over the years. If you don't want to use rubber bands, don't use rubber bands. If you want to use rubber bands, here's how you do it. Here's what you should do. Here's what you need to know. Let's kick right into it. Why not? Here's rubber bands that I use. It's Proclaim Professional Care Super Strength rubber bands. 400 to a pack. And it says right here, will not break hair. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but I've had good results with them. I get these at Sally's Beauty Supply. That's not a plug, but that's just where I get them because that's where I get them. No big deal there. So when to use rubber bands and why to use them, how to use them, basic info. Okay, so how do I use them, when do I use them, why do I use them? I first started off using them because my roots would be loose and they would look kind of like flyaway and a little unkempt, but that's just my opinion again, that's the way I didn't like it. So these rubber bands around the roots to kind of help keep that all together and keep them nice and tight. And then as they grow out, the rubber band kind of grows with it a little bit, it loosens up on its own. Eventually I'll just pull it out, but it kind of like helps form the dread, keeps it nice and round and circular, and it keeps it without all the flyaways getting all crazy. Here's the thing though, don't do it super tight, because obviously if you're doing it really tight around your head, there's a couple things that can happen. One, you can have dry skin around your dreads. It's going to pull the scalp and it's going to cause the skin to dry, and you're going to have these problems with like flaky scalp. We'll get into that whole topic later, but that's just one of the things that can happen. That'll be another video, totally. Number two, don't do it tight because it's going to pull your hair. It's going to pull the root. If you're doing it too tight, you can actually destroy the root of your hair, and you don't want to do that. So I do mine either 2 to 3 times, depending on the size of the dread and how wide it is and how tight I want it to be. What I mean by that is, like, I'll take it and I'll wrap it around the dread 2 or 3 times. So basically, I mean, if it's a really wide dread or a tight rubber band, I'll just do it once around there and then one more time like that, get tight. But if it's some of those rubber bands are different sizes. So if it's super small, I'll just do like one time. Like I'll just put it on there and that's it, or I'll rubber band it a couple more times depending on how I need it to be, how tight I need it to be. But that's kind of when I use them. So and how I use them. But usually it's around the root from the very beginning, which is what you can do if you're starting dreads. Because I know someone just asked me the other day, hey, should I use wax or like a beeswax or something and rubber bands, or will rubber band work on its own? My opinion, if I was just starting dreads, I would say rubber bands on their own. But once again, that's just my opinion. Because I think that when you use a lot of waxes, depending especially on the wax, because a lot of the wax out there, I've gone on this before, but a lot of the waxes have like petroleum based and they're kind of greasy and oily. And I feel like when you're first starting dreads, that extra wax and like petroleum oily greasiness doesn't necessarily help hold the dread. It just kind of makes it like greasy mess and does it not as fast, in my opinion. If you can find like a really pure beeswax, it's actually kind of a heavy wax. It's like kind of thicker and definitely not greasy. Then maybe you could use that, but I would use it sparingly still to help kind of form the dread. But rubber bands themselves, I think you can do the exact same thing and it'll work. You can start off with the roots and then work your way down the dread. And like so, if you have loose spots on the dread, take the rubber band. Once it's away from, here's the other thing too. Sorry about this, I'm just kind of jumping around. Once it's away from the root, you can tighten it as tight as you want because you're not going to hurt this part of the hair. The one part you have to really worry about is the root of the hair on your scalp. This part, it's already dead. It's not, you can't really hurt it at this point. Nothing's going to happen to it. So let's say you have a loose spot. I don't know if I have any loose spots, but let's say you have a loose spot. Okay? Like we'll say on this dread I have a loose spot here. What I would do when I first started my dreads is I would take the rubber band and I would just rubber band it like this. And just keep going over and over and over until it was super tight. Basically, just kind of really getting it like that. So the dread is like super locked down by the rubber band. What that's going to do is, that's going to kind of hold it in place. There's a little flyway there, I could do there. It's going to hold it in place, and over time, that's just going to tighten that dread up, and it's going to help lock it that way. It will stay exactly in that shape, I guarantee you this. And then eventually, you can either take the rubber band and break it off, or you can just undo the rubber band altogether if you don't want it there anymore. Or you can just let it sit there until it falls off on its own, because it is rubber and it will deteriorate on its own. That's another way to use the, shit, there we go. Pulled it out. So that's another way to do the rubber bands. When there's a loose spot, just take it and go over and over again, over and over again. It'll tighten it up and it will hold it in place. I highly recommend using rubber bands from my perspective because I found that it worked the best for me, because I don't typically have the kind of hair that would normally dread very well because I'm Japanese, Native American, and German, so it's kind of a wavy, curly hairstyle, but it's not like a really tight curl. It's more of a loose curl, kind of wave. So I found the rubber bands really worked well for me. So basically, two things rubber bands remember is, number one, don't put it super tight around the root of your hair by the edge of the scalp because you could break it off or damage it, and also you don't want flaky skin. Number two, if you have loose spots in your dreads, you can use rubber bands to rubber band that spot in the dread. Any loose little spot that's kind of coming undone. If it's really thin, I wouldn't recommend doing it because you're just going to break it off. In which case, if it's really thin, I would just tie a knot in it, get the loose hairs together, and you'll be fine. I'll see if I can find one later, and I'll do that kind of video for you. But yeah, if it's just like a loose flyaway spot and you want it to look a little more tidy, or the new dreads, just take a rubber band, wrap it around there really tight, and it'll kind of knot on its own over time. You don't really do anything. You could crochet and stuff, but I'm just kind of lazy, I guess. When I do my dreads, I don't really want to spend time crocheting my hair all the time, which I've never done. But you could do it if you wanted to, but I find this rubber banding method works out just as well, in my opinion, to get all the flyaways. I mean, my dreads are still pretty tight over the last 16 years. And I haven't really palm rolled these, and I don't even know now. I've been really lazy with them to let them kind of do their thing. But if I were to get flyaways, I would just take it and rubber band it again and let it do that way. So that's just a quick how you rubber band your hair, when you rubber band your hair, why rubber band your hair. If you have more questions, comments, you can email me at charlesyamabe@gmail.com or leave comments down below here. Follow me on Instagram, Charles_Yamabe_. I'll put a link somewhere so you can find that. Like and subscribe, I appreciate it. And once again, that is Proclaim Professional Care Rubber Bands. Sounds like such a plug, doesn't it? Yeah, 400, get them at Sally's Beauty Supply. It's the red and yellow package. Can't really miss it. I'm done. If you have questions again, yeah, feel free to ask. But that's how I rubber band my hair, why I rubber band my hair, and how I use them. Yeah, alright, later.